My name is Tom Jankowski. I was born September 8th, 1959 at St. Francis Hospital right here in Hamtramck. I spent my entire childhood here in Hamtramck. I attended St. Ladislaus High School for 12 years. It's the only school I attended in Hamtramck. My memories during my childhood of the city are quite fond and still vivid. I remember a very vibrant city. I knew that anything my family ever needed could be bought on Joseph Campo. And it served the needs, the city served the needs of everybody very well. As a matter of fact, my mother never even got a driver's license. She didn't need one. My dad spent his days at work. There were 8 children in my family, and she would just buy her provisions and get what she needed right there on Joseph Campo. My 12 years in St. Ladislaus schools, grade school and high school, are memorable and very rewarding. I remember one teacher in particular, Mr. Lubinsky, lay teacher, had Mr. Lubinsky 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And there's one thing, he kept us ahead of the curve. I remember he started teaching us at that time, which was unheard of, was algebra in 6th grade, and he used to tell us, you don't like it now, but when you get to high school, you're going to thank me because you're going to be ahead of everybody else. After graduating from St. Ladislaus High School, I went on to higher education at Wayne State University. One thing Hamtramck had provided for me is an opportunity to work and not only later on earn a living, but early on when I was younger, a teenager, to actually have a little, extra pocket change for myself and, learn the value of work ethic. I had worked at Federal's department store, which was in the building now called Shoppers World. Moved on from there to Jankowski clothing, which no longer exists, but they were one of the premier clothiers in the Detroit area. Went from there to Kozak Distributors, which was a beer distributor. And that was my last job while still in high school. Once I left high school, I actually, a couple days after I graduated, I started working at Metropolitan Bakery, also in Hamtramck. And that was quite an experience. I didn't quite know what I was getting into, but for $4 an hour, I had started 2 in the morning and worked 14 to 16-hour days. And I worked there for about 2 years, and had an opportunity to move on to work for Wayne County in the storm drainage and sewage department. And I worked 15 years for Wayne County. Left there, started working for another local company then, All Star Amusements. After that, basically went to business on my own. I had bought a bar in Hamtramck, Whiskey in the Jar. That was back in 2000, still up and running today, very successful. I've got my own waste hauling business, Empire Disposal, and currently working on expanding that into recycling and transfer station. I come from a rather large family. There was 8 children in our family. My father, Raymond, and mother, Angela, were both born here in the States. Grandparents had immigrated over from Poland. And, truth be told, my mother is 95 years old and still is living on Belmont Street. And she's been there, I think, about 70 years now. So she's got top seniority on her block, which my dad used to lay claim to before he passed. I have 7 sisters, no brothers, and we can actually name them: Nancy, Grace, Cindy, Margaret, Camille, Carol, Sue. I did have to use my fingers, so I did get it. But and we're still very close. All living, still have great, wonderful family get-togethers. Still spend a lot of time with Mom. I have one daughter, Tiara Jankowski, who, sorry to say, just recently moved to St. Clair Shores. I couldn't convince her to stay here in the city with me, but we're also very close. Throughout my time here at Hamtramck, I've always been prone to community service, and one of those ways of fulfilling that has been to join some local organizations. Former member of Alhambra, current member of Knights of Columbus, the Moose, the Carl Wojtyla Hamtramck Park Committee, and I guess early on, in my learning experience, there was junior achievement, which almost doesn't exist anymore, and also a parishioner at St. Ladislaus School Parish. Social organizations weren't the only form of community service that I've been involved in. I've also had the honor and the opportunities to serve, the community in a capacity of appointed municipal offices and elective offices. My first appointment was to the Hamtramck Plan Commission by Mayor Kazarin. Second appointment came from the City Council for Hamtramck Zoning Board of Appeals. There's also been the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, the Downtown Development Authority. We've had the Economic Development Corporation, and a few others that some exist, some don't anymore. I've also held 2 elective offices. I held the office of mayor 2004 and 2005, and I held the office of city council member from 2010 through 2013. During my term as mayor, it was quite, for the 2 years that I was in office, it was a lot of changes happened in the city of Hamtramck. When I was elected, we were under the emergency manager, Lou Schimmel. He then, about 10 months into my term, turned over local control to my office, and he kept control basically over personnel issues. But the day-to-day operations, he had allowed me to have a larger and stronger voice in. And also during that time, the voters had, people at Hamtramck had voted to change our form of government from a strong mayor form of government, which actually gave the mayor power to appoint and run to day-to-day operations, to a city manager form of government. I had the opportunity to basically usher out the emergency manager and usher in a new form of government for the city, which is a city manager form of government. My memory of Hamtramck Public Library predates my even first day of school. I remember my sisters bringing me here when I was maybe, 4 or 5 years old. Don't know for sure what the age was, and I don't know for sure why they brought me. I think it's because with 8 children in the family, my mother just needed to clear the house once in a while. In my later years as a public official, I was, again, one of the perks of office is being invited to come to events and interact with the local children. And I was given the opportunity a number of times and, took advantage of it to come and to read to the children. Some of the strongest impressions I have from my time growing up, living in Hamtramck, have been varied. The strongest impressions, I think, first and foremost was church. The other strong impressions I have is when Pope John Paul visited. That was just a very touching, very moving event that's deeply ingrained. As far as my future goes, I really don't see myself leaving the city. Naturally, I've entertained it a number of times, basically just to see where those thoughts might take me. But I just can't settle on somewhere else I'd rather be. I still have my business here, my bar going, and it's doing well, and it's solid. I've got my new businesses starting up, and I really just can't beat the convenience of this town. Today I meet with people that newly or just moved to Hamtramck, and welcome them, say hello. And, like any newcomer, there's a little consternation, a little concern about being in a foreign place. We just try and, I tell them, the city is a very warm and embracing town. It's not always afraid to speak its mind, but its heart is always true. chances are you're going to go anywhere in this country and even outside of this country, and you will run into somebody that has lived in Hamtramck. And you will be calling Hamtramck home no matter where you came from before.